Hello, classmates. My name is Steve Barillier, and I'm in the Educational Counseling Program here at Azusa Pacific. I will be presenting on parent involvement in student education, a topic that is very important to me. In my current job as a high school counselor, I work specifically with students who struggle academically, and I have seen the effects of healthy and unhealthy parent involvement. My hope is to bring greater knowledge and awareness to you as future counselors and school psychologists so you can help parents, administrators, and other school personnel better understand the complexities of parent involvement and their effects on student achievement. Researchers have long searched for the driving forces behind student school achievement levels in an attempt to discover what is different in high achieving and low achieving students. Studies have demonstrated that family socioeconomic status, cultural group membership, and family structure all have mediating effects on student success in the classroom. However, the biggest predictor of children's success or failure at school is the level in which parents are involved and engaged in their child's learning and development. Research suggests that students whose parents are involved in their educational experience have increased academic performance and overall development, higher math and reading levels, less behavioral problems, and an increased likelihood of attending college. Especially during adolescence, parent involvement and family-school relationships can help prevent academic performance declines that are usually spurred by changes in school context and developmental processes during middle school and junior high. Defining parent involvement can be a difficult task. Some researchers contend that parent involvement entails helping students with homework, discussing school performance expectations with their child, and creating a positive learning environment at home. Others' definition involves increased parent-teacher-school interaction and the monitoring of educational support measures. This includes attending parent-teacher conferences, volunteering at the school, and involvement in school-sponsored activities. This approach to parent involvement is frequently used and revolves around what parents do and how it fits or does not fit within the goals of the school. Yet another definition of parent involvement requires interaction between parents and teachers and includes parents' own experiences and resources in defining their child's school experiences. Based on this definition, parents are viewed as equal partners and decision makers in their child's educational experience. In order to create this kind of parent-school relationship, the Bush administration provided a change in the fabric of school initiatives and policies. In congruence with the research, federal legislation sought to bring about higher levels of parent engagement through the implementation of No Child Left Behind in 2001, which I will discuss further as the presentation progresses. Beginning in the 1980s, research called for a parent involvement paradigm that focused on cooperative planning and problem solving for parents and teachers. Under the collaboration paradigm, educators share leadership and power with parents in a supportive, non-blaming atmosphere. The goal is increased family involvement in students' educational experiences that leads to improved academic performance and fewer discipline problems. In order to help schools achieve this level of parent involvement, the government enacted the No Child Left Behind program on January 8, 2002. The policy was designed to improve student achievement and change the culture of America's schools by putting an emphasis on parent involvement that is typical of the collaboration paradigm. With this legislation in place, schools are to demonstrate their commitment to seeing every child in America, regardless of ethnicity, income, or background, achieve certain standards in school. School counselors and psychologists can make the family-school relationship a priority by collaborating with teachers and other school personnel to apply theory and current research to children's learning, and by being persistent in working with students and families that live in challenging situations. With the passing of No Child Left Behind in 2001, schools are to be held more accountable for getting students and parents the resources they need to achieve in the classroom. The policy was also implemented to give more control and flexibility to local schools, to give parents new options regarding their students' education, and to give schools the opportunity to be part of the funding they receive from the government. More specifically, under Title I of No Child Left Behind, parent involvement is critical. Similar to the collaboration paradigm, Title I stresses shared accountability between schools and parents for students to achieve at a high level. Title I defines parent involvement as the participation of parents in consistent, two-way communication involving student learning and other school activities. This form of parental involvement ensures that parents play a crucial role in helping their children learn, that parents are encouraged by schools to become actively involved in their child's education, and that parents are seen as partners in decision-making and are included on advisory committees to assist in their child's education. After No Child Left Behind was introduced in 2001, It was described as the most significant piece of educational legislation since the Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1965. While it was designed to change the culture of America's schools, some have criticized the policy for a variety of reasons, including a lack of funding, an overemphasis on testing, and inconsistencies in standards at the federal, state, and local levels. Others have called into question the actual levels of parent involvement in Title I schools due to a lack of enforcement and accountability measures. Consequently, it seems that more amendments to legislation regarding school policies and parent involvement are necessary in order to achieve the standards set by No Child Left Behind. Although there is abounding research on parent involvement and its effect on student achievement, fewer studies focus on inner-city schools and low-income families and how parent involvement affects these target populations in terms of children's later development and academic success. In addition, research focused on minority families often stereotypes these parents as uninterested and unconcerned with their child's education. Family socioeconomic status is associated with academic success, and because more minorities live in poverty, it is often assumed that parents of a particular race or ethnicity are at an educational disadvantage compared to other families. Also, the level of parent involvement is often linked to family SES, so it is also assumed that families with low SES will not be as involved in their child's education. Contrary to these assumptions, more recent research has argued that even disadvantaged parents with low education can become involved in school in many positive ways. While there are barriers that can deter low SES families from participating in their child's school, early intervention programs strive to decrease barriers by providing services for families that encourage parent participation at an early age. A study from 1999 focuses on the association between parent reports of involvement in preschool and kindergarten and indicators of school achievement based on children's reading achievement in kindergarten and 8th grade, as well as rates of grade retention and special education placement through 8th grade. Few studies have measured parent involvement for disadvantaged children and long-term school success. This study is also unique in that it compares differences in parent involvement within a low SES population, rather than comparing differences between low and high SES populations. After analyzing differences between the control group and early intervention group, results indicated that the frequency of parent involvement in preschool and kindergarten was significantly associated with higher scores on the ITBS reading achievement test in kindergarten, even when family characteristics were added to the model. In addition, the number of activities parents were involved in was significantly associated with higher scores on kindergarten reading achievement and 8th grade reading achievement, even after background information and kindergarten readiness were controlled for. This demonstrates that parent involvement has an independent effect on students' later achievement. Further, parent participation in preschool and kindergarten was also significantly associated with lower rates of grade retention during elementary school, even after controlling for background information and cognitive maturity. The results of the study by Meadle indicate that parent involvement is a likely ingredient of successful early intervention for low SES families. The study also demonstrates that low SES families can learn helpful parenting strategies that can break barriers to increasing levels of parent involvement and help refute stereotypes regarding minority and low SES families. Similarly, another study explored the relationship between family involvement in school and children's literacy, especially in regard to low SES families. Although the elementary school years are vital in building language skills necessary for students' futures, there are very few longitudinal studies involving the link between family involvement in school and children's literacy. There are even fewer studies that examine this relationship in a sample of low SES families, even though these children are at risk to develop literacy problems and are the focus of No Child Left Behind and other public policies aimed at increasing parent involvement in education. Longitudinal data was gathered in a sample of ethnically diverse, low-income children and their families in order to examine parent involvement and literacy performance from kindergarten through 5th grade. Results of the study indicate that both between families differences in school involvement and within families changes in school involvement were linked with child literacy. Additionally, increased parent involvement was positively and significantly associated with increased literacy performance for children whose mothers were relatively less educated. The study demonstrates that low SES families can help their children succeed in school by becoming involved in their child's education in positive ways so that they can combat barriers and stereotypes that may inhibit student success. Given these results, schools must continue to help facilitate family-school collaboration and reach out to families that are less involved to help create and sustain parent involvement, especially since previous studies suggest that lower income families display relatively low levels of involvement that decrease during the elementary school years. Although No Child Left Behind was put in place to encourage parent involvement, it is unclear whether families' participation in education has increased as a result of the policy. Researchers continue to examine the policy's effects on target populations such as minority groups and low-income families to gain insight into the processes of parent involvement within various subgroups. Since schools are held accountable for the academic performance of all subgroups according to No Child Left Behind legislation, school personnel must find ways to get parents more involved and help their children achieve success in the classroom. There have been recent increases in the number of African American families living in more affluent neighborhoods with better schools, but research demonstrates that the academic performance of these African American students is still lower compared to white, Asian American, and Latino students. These statistics lead researchers to question the role that African American parents have in children's education. In order to examine the role of parent involvement in the education of middle-class African American students, a study of African American parents' concepts and their involvement and ways that parents get involved at their child's school was conducted in 2008. After analyzing the results of the study, it was clear to the researchers that parents had multiple definitions of parent involvement. Further, not all parents felt the need to be involved at all in their child's education. Many participants commented on the apathy and absence of many other African American parents at important school events and believed that these facts contribute to teachers' views of particular parents and students. Other parents stated that they did not expect to go to the school unless there was a problem, putting trust in the experts such as teachers and administrators. This speaks to a general sentiment representing many of the participants in which they believe that the quality of the schools their children attend requires less parent involvement. Other parents who are more involved with their child's education discuss the importance of being informed and being able to advocate for their child. These parents stress being involved past the point of merely attending school-sanctioned events. They argue that taking positions of engagement, such as a PTA leader or a member of a parent advisory board, allowed for more positive outcomes for their families and students. Moreover, the researchers heard from participants that when they exercised their power as informed parents, and demanded that the school be held accountable for protocols and legislation involving education, their desired outcomes were achieved much more often. This research demonstrates that the role of race and ethnicity in regard to parent involvement does not necessarily dissipate as families' SES changes for the better. Further investigation into the behaviors of African American parents will give researchers insight regarding the challenges they face and other factors that contribute to academic performance. This research also highlights the need to bring awareness to all parents in helping them understand the benefits of parent involvement, even when students attend high-quality schools, making sure to give special attention to minority groups. Schools must dedicate time to reach out to parents and create avenues for family-school collaboration, regardless of race or socioeconomic status. In a similar study, parent involvement was examined based on ethnic differences while controlling for socioeconomic status. Mothers and teachers reported on parent involvement in school using the Parent-Teacher Involvement Questionnaire, which examined 3 types of involvement: school involvement, home involvement, and perceived value of education. For math achievement, all 3 types of parent involvement were significant predictors, but the relations differed across ethnic groups. The relationship between school involvement and math was positive for African Americans and negative for white Americans. Home involvement and valuing education were positively related to math for whites and not related to math for African Americans. For reading scores, the relationship with parent involvement was similar across ethnic groups. Accordingly, the researchers posit that for African Americans, the relationship between parents' active involvement in the classroom and children's math performance can be explained by improvements in children's classroom skills and behaviors. Additionally, increasing teachers' perceptions in regard to the value parents place on education was associated with improved academic skills, which was associated with better reading performance for both whites and African American children. The ethnic differences presented in the study suggest that parent involvement is different for whites and African American families, and therefore their meaning and impact may also be different. For African American parents, their involvement may improve academic achievement by improving academic skills because many of these parents are less aware of school expectations. White parents may have more extensive information concerning school climate and school activities. So African American parents' involvement in the classroom may provide them with information about the skills required by the teacher and allow them to develop these skills in their children, especially in regard to math performance. In yet another study, researchers focused on parent involvement in the United States versus China. Researchers hypothesized that when parents are involved in their child's learning, they are more motivated in school for parent-oriented reasons, such as demonstrating they are responsible or to gain parents' approval. The researchers believe that increases in parent-oriented motivation and engagement in